What's up, fragrant world? Welcome back to another Stay Fresh production. And today we're doing a video that I have been wanting to do for a long time, but I was waiting to really just take the time to acquire the fragrances that I needed to fill out the list as I want to. So I finally have reached that point, at least good enough for now. I have 10 fragrances that I'm going to share with you that are based around the note of vetiver. Now, over the years, I've noticed that vetiver has kind of snuck up on me and become one of my favorite notes. I'm really drawn to it, and I was surprised to realize this once I looked at my collection and saw, like, man, I have a lot of fragrances that center around vetiver. I didn't even realize it. So I'm really intrigued by the different ways that vetiver can be treated and how, you know, it can have different facets depending on where it's sourced and how it's blended with other notes and all these things. That goes for any note, obviously, but vetiver in particular is just so beautifully multifaceted, and it has a lot of extremes to it, which I love. It can be very dry and woody and earthy, or it can be very clean and soapy and fresh. Quite a spectrum here, and there's a lot in between, again, depending on how it's treated. So I'm really intrigued by that level of dynamism with the note of vetiver. I want to just first get out of the way a couple things. Number one, these are my favorite vetiver fragrances in my collection. I don't own every vetiver fragrance. I have not smelled every vetiver fragrance. So if you're gonna come at me in the comments like, what about this? Where's this? Where's that? I just explained to you why. You have them on your list. That's what matters the most, is that you love these fragrances. If they're not on my list, they're on your list, and that is what matters at the end of the day, the fragrances that you like to wear. I'm just sharing with you what I like to wear, and hopefully you find something new and maybe something to check out. I would love to know your recommendations. That is another way to reframe it. If there's a fragrance I don't have on this list and you want to ask me like, hey, have you smelled this? I'd be like, no, I haven't. I'll check it out. We can have a conversation about that, and we will reiterate that later on. The next thing, a couple honorable mentions that are not on this list because I don't own full bottles of them, and both of these I used to own a full bottle of. The first one, which is an obvious one, elephant in the room, is Tom Ford Grey Vetiver. Beloved scent for a good reason. Really wonderful, very fresh and soapy. There's an eau de toilette version which I think has been discontinued. The eau de parfum still persists, and that's the one I used to have. It's a great scent. It was one of my favorites, and I can't even explain to you. I just kind of fell out of love with it a while back. My taste changed, and I was getting kind of a weird vibe. I'd spray it on, and I'm like, I don't know, it would just kind of, it wouldn't sit with me right, so I ended up passing it on to someone who wanted it more. And the second one is another beloved fragrance, slightly higher up in the price bracket, and that is Creed Original Vetiver. Wonderful scent, a scent that I actually do enjoy. I didn't really have anything about it I disliked. I did sell it a while back at a time when I was getting rid of a lot of fragrances, and it happened to, you know, not make the cut of fragrances to stick around. It's a great scent. It's very soapy. Honestly, I wouldn't really consider it a vetiver fragrance. When I think of vetiver, I think of the fragrances on this list, and you smell it and it smells like soap. It smells like very fresh, clean soap, but very high quality. It has a nice creamy kind of roundness to it as it compares to its counterpart or its predecessor, Mugler Cologne, which could be another honorable mention on this list, one that I also used to own but no longer own anymore. So I guess you could say the fresh and super clean vetiver style is great, but it's not something I'm currently into. And there's nothing wrong with the fresh and clean. That's great. But when it comes to vetiver, I guess I like it a certain way. Although some of these are fresher than others, so let's jump right in. Here at number 10, this is number 10 because it is pretty new. I haven't even really given it a full wearing just yet, so I'm saving it to have a higher ranking until I can really understand it better and get a full feel for how it wears on my skin. But this is a very transportive fragrance. It is very potent. It is very polarizing. This is not for everyone. You got to be a vetiver lover to appreciate this. This is from the house of Beach Geeza, and this is one that they have called Juniper Java. And to me, without going into too much detail about it, this one reminds me of, I'm already getting in the air, of old barber shops.
Ooh, boy, we need that barbershop right about now.
That I used to visit when I was a kid, where I would go to get my hair cut. There's a lot of older men there, and this is just kind of the smell. It's kind of hard to explain, but like I imagine these old leather chairs, you know, the shop chairs, they're old, they're made of leather. There's kind of a strange like humidity to the air. I don't know. This is my association, but what they're going for, I imagine it is more of a tropical thing. Imagine being on an island. It's not super sunny. It's not a bright tropical kind of island, but it is a tropical climate. It's humid. There's maybe a lot of trees around, so you get the woods in the air, and there's no sweetness at all. It is quite dry as well. Ooh, this is this is a beautiful scent. Man, this is like vetiver and juniper, not juniper berry, juniper, which kind of gives off more of like a piney resinous feel. So it does have this green resinous nature. That vetiver is very earthy and again quite dry. And there's some citron, which is a citrus at the top. It's kind of mouth-watering. It's really astringent. It's really sharp. It has a lot of bite to it. This is one that you don't want to smell it super close if you've never smelled it. You want to give it some air to breathe and just be ready for something that's going to slap you in the face. But this is one to check out if you love dry, kind of bitter, you know, humid vetiver. This is Juniper Java. Just wanted to take a moment here to once again remind you that I have a Patreon, and I'm really grateful for those of you who have decided to support me so far. Your support goes such a long way. Even little bits at a time really add up and help me, you know, get closer to my goal of doing this a little bit more full time, so I don't have to break my fingers and my back at this warehouse. I love making content like this, and I need your help to be able to do it more. There's some really fantastic perks that come along with becoming a member of the Fresh Fam. Link in the description. Please check it out. Check out all the tiers and the rewards that come with them. And again, would love to have you there. On to the next one. Okay, here at number 9 from the house of Masque Milano. I haven't worn this a lot lately. It's been a while since I've given this a wear. I'm going to try to wear it again soon. This is Hemingway. I've always enjoyed this stuff, and this is a special take on vetiver. It has a very sharp ginger note and rhubarb. Ginger and rhubarb kind of lead the way right at the opening. Very bitter, sharp, very tart. And that vetiver in there is earthy. It's a little dry, but it's nowhere near as extreme dryness as it could be like from Juniper Java. Very classy. Not a lot of sweetness here. Again, earthy, sharp. It does have a more of a thickness to it in a way, more of almost like a juiciness. It's not juicy per se, but there's a little bit more filling out the scent. I think maybe from that rhubarb. But that is Hemingway, or homage to Hemingway, I think is technically the name. Created by Fanny Ball, who is a perfumer who's really up and coming right now. But I enjoy this stuff. Okay, up next, this fragrance is really pleasant. I find it easier to wear than the other two I've just talked about. However, vetiver is not super forward. It's here, it does play a major role, but it is not the star of the show. From the house of Mancera, this is Kumkat Wood. And this one is accented by some grapefruit and some bergamot. There's some spices in here, there's some woods. I do think that maybe the bergamot gives it a little bit of a sweetness, like a juicy sweetness in there. To me, this one comes off a little bit like Terre, which is also not on this list. That is another obvious one that could have made it. Great scent, I just don't have it. But it has more of a playful vibe, more of a sweetness here, and has a little bit of a creamy nature too. It's kind of soft, it's fresh, but it's earthy. It has, again, that grapefruit note. It's kind of mouth-watering, really nice scent. Not the best from Mancera, I would say, but something that's really just pleasant to wear, especially in the more moderate temperatures. That is Kumkat Wood. Here at number 7, fragrance that is generally pleasant, but not for everyone. It has some interesting facets that may not appeal to all wearers. From the house of Nobile 1942, this is PonteVecchio. And I've talked about this fragrance before. It pays homage to the PonteVecchio, which means old bridge, and there's a bridge in Florence crossing The river with the name, I think it starts with an A. I can't remember it now. Vetiver heavy, but paired with some interesting stuff in here. Incense, geranium, has a bit of a freshness to it, almost a rosy freshness. It has some iris in here. There's slightly creamy, powdery iris. And there's some other woods like sandalwood, which adds to that creaminess. It has a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of an herbaceous green nature. The vetiver in here is more on the cleaner side, not really so earthy. And that geranium keeps things nice and fresh. It's a pleasant scent. It is very elegant, I would say. There's a little bit of an unusual facet here, which I like. And if you're looking for something different, you'll probably like this too, but not everyone's gonna dig it. But I love this stuff. That's PonteVecchio. Here at number 6, this is a classic on my channel. I have not talked about it in a long time because I did kind of fall out of love with it, but I kept it for a reason because I knew that, you know, I'm still gonna give this some wear here and there over the years. It's something that captured me when I first smelled it. Again, my taste kind of changed, but I do enjoy the scent and I do plan to try to wear it more. From Creed, this is Vetiver Geranium. I reviewed this a long time ago and I'll probably re-review it because just no, I don't like that review, but I'll keep it up if you want to watch it. And this is more on the cleaner side of things with vetiver, more fresh, also paired with some geranium, obviously. You get some apple, you get some cinnamon in here, some other woods. It has a little bit of a powdery nature from the geranium, I think, and that apple is very sweet, very crisp, kind of juicy. It's a really pleasant scent, beautifully unisex. Anyone could wear this. So I recommend this. This is a great one for elegant daytime occasions. That is Vetiver Geranium from Creed from their Aqua Original line. All right, top 5 here. This one's pretty complex. It is a niche scent, as with most of these as you've seen. But I do find that it's the quality and the blend and the complexity you get is quite amazing as it compares to the price you can pay to get this. You can get this well under $100, maybe under $75, maybe even around $50 if you look right and if you get a small size like I do, because you know we're hashtag team 30 mil, team 50 mil all day. This is from L'Artisan Parfumeur. This is Timbuktu, one of their most popular fragrances for sure. Ooh, this is one that kind of grew on me. I blind bought it, which I don't recommend, but I did. And it had to take some time to grow on me. I didn't dislike it, I just wasn't really getting it. It just didn't click. I'm like, okay, I smell all these things, but they don't make sense. Then with time, more wearings, I was really able to understand how this scent resonates with me. Incense, vetiver, a green unripe mango is in here. It's smoky, a little bit sweet, but not so much. And it has this earthiness, it has a freshness to it, but it has a richness to it. Very elegant scent, very unique. Nothing smells like this. And that is what I love about this fragrance. And that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point in my journey. I'm trying to get this holding the right way. So this is Timbuktu from L'Artisan Parfumeur. There will be links in the description to check all these out. So check them out. Okay, moving right along at number 4. One of the most elegant fragrances in my collection, one of the most unique fragrances in my collection, and something that is a little bit polarizing, but I think if you wear it in the right occasions, no one is going to dislike this. From the house of Jovoy in Paris, this is Incident Diplomatique. I have talked about this before, and man, this is a special scent. This was courtesy of a good friend of mine, Frederick, who has really just been catalyzing my fragrance journey as of late in a beautiful way. So Frederick, if you see this, I really appreciate you, my friend. This is something I would only wear when I'm dressed to impress. This is vetiver, obviously, more on the earthy side, not super dry. There's something boozy about it. I can't even explain it because there's technically no booze in here. Nutmeg, mandarin orange, patchouli is a major player, all coming together to create this earthy, slightly almost sweet, but not really, kind of almost smoky scent. A little bit of a juicy quality from that mandarin orange that doesn't stick around all that long, but this is special. This is unique. Again, polarizing, not for everyone. I recommend you sample it. I'll see if I can link that down below. I'll also link a bottle down below if you do want to take the plunge. I know some of you did and say you really love it, so I'm happy to hear that. That is Incident Diplomatique, one of my favorites for sure. Here at number 3, this is a fragrance that as soon as I smelled it in a store in Southern California, I had to buy it right then and there. Also reminds me of Terre Hermes, but it's more refined cousin. More refined, smoother, a little bit richer. Not quite as brash with the Vetiver, but the Vetiver is still up front here from the house of Daniel Josier in Spain. This is simply Vetiver. Man, this is good stuff. Vetiver, on the dry side, but not super earthy. Again, kind of smooth, pretty clean, but not fresh and soapy, so to speak. There's some orange leaf in here, so it does have a little bit of that citrus nuance. So you get kind of that earthy orange that you get from Terre Hermes, but it's just more round around the edges here. Elegant stuff. One that makes me smile every time I wear it. And it's actually a compliment getter, maybe more so than Terre Hermes in some ways, because it does have a tiny little bit of a sweetness in there that might appeal to more people. I dig it. That is Vetiver from Daniel Josier. Check it out. Here at number 2, quickly became one of my favorites from the house of Roja Parfums. This is based on his acclaimed Vetiver Pour Homme, but this is the fresher version, if you can imagine. So this is just Vetiver, and this is the Parfum Cologne. And as I described in my review of this fragrance, which you can check out here, this is like Grey Vetiver, but also it's like more refined cousin. It's more on the fresh and soapy side of things, but it does get quite dry as it dries down. It's a little earthy, a spark of lemon, maybe bergamot up top. So it has a piercing freshness to it that's almost mouth-watering with those citruses. Immediately fresh, again, kind of earthy, and it gets dry as it dries down on the skin. Creates a beautiful, clean, very fresh, and very bold aura around you when you wear this. And this is a reason why I don't really need the Grey Vetiver anymore, because this is kind of the similar scent profile, but just amped up in a way that I really love. Again, it's drier, it's more earthy, and I kind of just prefer that. That is Vetiver Parfum Cologne. I will link that down below if you want to sample it. Okay, so my number 1 pick. This is unusual because this is the newest fragrance to my collection out of these fragrances. I have others that are newer than this in general, but out of my Vetiver scents, this is the newest one. I haven't had this for more than a week, but I've worn it maybe 3 or 4 times, and it has quickly swept me off my feet. I was hesitant about putting it at number 1 because I normally don't do that for a brand new fragrance. But when I really just put them all side by side and smelled them all and wore them, I'm like, no, I just like this one the most. This one has the most enjoyable and captivating wearing experience for me personally. And I'm going to talk about this house more later because they did send me this fragrance for review, and they also sent me a few others which I will cover in a house overview later on. This is from the house based in New York City called Amouroud, which comes from a company called the Parfumer's Workshop. And this is Lunar Vetiver. Love this bottle. And good Lord. Oh, man. Okay, so quickly, how can I explain Lunar Vetiver? This is more on the fresh. This is kind of the best of both worlds here. Fresh, not really soapy, but definitely fresh and clean for sure, right off the bat. Now, when you first spray this on, you're gonna get smacked with a blast of pimento and pink pepper. Pimento pepper, like the actual like chili pepper kind of smell, and pink pepper, also known as bay rose. And it's a lot. When I first sprayed this on, I did that, and I swear I got smacked and did a whole backflip and had to get up from the floor about an hour later because it just knocked me all the way out. It's spicy. This is one of the spiciest openings I have experienced in a fragrance, but it's such great quality. I just had to admire it. I'm like, this is really a bit much, but I can't stop smelling it. And as it dries down, the spiciness dissipates. It's still fresh. It gets a little bit more earthy, but beautiful vanilla and tonka bean kind of arise from the heart and the base, brings this beautiful sweetness to it, kind of creamy, but not really. So you get a creamy, kind of sweet, earthy, fresh vetiver. And it is just fantastic. I love this combination of accords. I can't stop smelling it. I've been wearing it day after day after day for a reason. It is captivating the absolute heck out of me. And I love it. And I'm going to be happy to talk about this more later on in my Amouroud video. But for the moment, I will link them down below if you want to check them out. Lunar Vetiver is really, really special. I'm not trying to hype it up. Again, all I do in my channel is share with you what resonates with me. And I just try to be honest about how it makes me feel, and I hope you can see. I hope it's pretty palpable how much I enjoy Lunar Vetiver. So that is my #1 pick for the moment from Amouroud Lunar Vetiver. Okay, that was a long video. If you're still here, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here, for checking out my picks. Now I want to know, what is your favorite vetiver based scent? If you don't have one, that's okay. If you have one on your radar, maybe one that you're looking for, or maybe one that you see on my list that looks, intriguing to you, put it down in the comments. Let's talk about it. All are welcome. If you like the video, then go ahead, like the video. Really appreciate your support. If you want to become a part of the Fresh Squad here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. While your mouse or your finger is there, hit that bell so you get notified when I upload. You won't miss a video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.